Welcome to Oxford News This Week. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Terry Stiles. In this week's news, an OHS grad helps pay tribute to Bush. M24 reconstruction plans are moving forward, and sometimes Santa wears a badge.
Stay tuned. Learn more about these stories and others. The Oxford News begins right now.
Nearshores is a professional, safe, economical, and convenient transportation company. Located in Oxford, we serve to and from all airports in the region. Our vehicles are clean, comfortable, and well-maintained. Low fares and guaranteed on time. Dependable service, fully licensed, Nearshore's Taxi is designed to keep you safe.
Plans are moving forward on the M24 reconstruction and resurface project slated for 2020. Officials from the Michigan Department of Transportation and the engineering firm hitting the project hosted a public information meeting last week to update the community on the progress. Lori Swanson, Projects and Contracts, MDOT administration engineer, said the entire project is estimated to cost over $23 million and will go out for contract bids in December 2019. Through the downtown Oxford, the project includes a new streetscape, curbs, and sidewalks in front of area businesses. Village President Joe Frost said the village will continue to hold public informational meetings to help keep residents and business owners informed. The M24 project will extend from Golden Gate Street north to Harriet Street, encompassing the villages of Lake Orion and Oxford.
Last week, the Oxford Village Planning Commission voted 5-0 to schedule a public hearing on the ongoing topic of outside displays in the downtown area. Currently, outside displays are limited to the core downtown area from Ensley's to East Street. In addition to scheduling a public hearing, commissioners voted 5-0 to request the Village Council extend its moratorium on the enforcement of the outdoor display prohibition outside the core district. The current moratorium enacted at the Council's September 25th meeting is set to expire on January 1st, 2019. A public hearing on the subject will be held on January 15th at 7 p.m. at the Village.
In Oxford, Santa's helpers took the form of the Village Police Department and Chamber of Commerce as the two organizations joined forces to collect 289 toys for kids in need. Half of the toys went to the Oxford Lions Club, which will distribute them as part of the annual Christmas basket program. The rest went to the U.S. Marine Corps Reserve Toys for Tots program. Police Chief Mike Sowald wishes to express his gratitude and sincere appreciation to those folks who help bolster his holiday spirit and faith in mankind.
Lifelong Oxford resident Dwayne Salvo Doll, who was extremely dedicated and an important figure to both the community and the Oxford Library Board, passed away on December 6th at the age of 87. As a 1949 Oxford graduate, Salvo Doll was a fixture on the Library Board of Trustees. He spent a majority of his 40 years chairing meetings as board president. A celebration of life was held December 12th at Lynch & Sons Funeral Directors. Interment was at the Ridgelawn Cemetery in Oxford, and he will be missed by the entire community.
Oxford High School graduate Dallas Pruett, now serving in the Navy since April 2017, took part in a ceremony honoring the late President George H.W. Bush. Pruett says, "It's still crazy for me that some kid from Pontiac got to do something like that." Pruett ran track and played football during his years as a Wildcat. Looking back, the one person that really made a difference for him was head coach Bud Raleigh. Pruett says Raleigh doesn't just teach teenagers a game, he molds boys into men. Dallas Pruett Shirley didn't forget where he came from and shows his gratitude for the people along the way.
Christopher Scott William, 25 of Oxford, was arraigned on December 10th in Rochester Hills 52-3 District Court on a felony charge of first-degree child abuse. Bond was set at $500,000. Emily Page Williams, a 2-month-old Oxford girl, was reported to be in critical condition and on life support Monday afternoon as a result of her father allegedly shaking her on December 7th. We will keep you updated on this story.
On the good side, 65 children went shopping for Christmas gifts with police officers and firefighters at the Oxford Meijer store as part of the annual Shop with a Hero event held December 6th. The kids bought items for themselves along with their parents, siblings, and other family members. Participating agencies included the Oxford Village Police Department, Oakland County Sheriff's Office, and fire departments from Oxford, Addison, Brandon, and Orion townships. Meijer sponsored some of the children, and each of those kids received a $150 gift card in which to shop with. Community donations and local fundraising efforts paid to provide shopping experiences for those children not sponsored by Meijer. Downtown Oxford's 24th Street Sports Tavern also donated the dinner enjoyed by the kids and heroes prior to the shopping. You can see more of the fun on an upcoming Schooling Around OCTV segment with Alexis Ware and Danielle Smith.
Dennis Lockamy, 66-year-old Orion Township resident, still loves playing with trains and is sharing his hobby with others. Last week, Lockamy brought his 4x10-foot portable train display, complete with buildings, trees, cars, a tunnel, and a tiny people and animal set, to Oxford Independence Village of Waterstone, and used it to delight folks of all ages. It was his wife Darlene Frederick's idea for Lockamy to start displaying his trains at places such as senior living facilities, nursing homes, and schools. She thought it would be a good way for him to expose others to his hobby and prevent her home from turning into a train depot.
Former Wildcat Amanda Lieber is celebrating the release of her first book, Behind the Painting. Released on December 1st, the book was published independently. Behind the Painting follows a protagonist, Lorelei, as she goes through a spiritual and paranormal search for the truth after purchasing a haunted painting. Lieber says the book is full of mystery and thinks it will appeal to anyone who loves the genre. She also has a second book outlined called Behind the Scandal, taking the character to the next level. Behind the Painting can be purchased on Amazon and Kindle and paperback formats, and paperback costs $14.99. The latest news about Lieber's work can be found at her website, amandalieber.com.
That's really cool. That sounds like a book I'd love to read. I'm really amazed at how many authors we have in this community, in our surrounding
very
Addison
talented
Township.
people.
Yeah, that's our school system at work, I think.
I think it is too. They do a terrific job.
Speaking of very talented people, we had some extremes in our news this week. That young man who was able to lay the wreath on George Bush's coffin. What an honor for him to be able to do that. And I'm really curious to find out how that happened. So what I want to say is Alexis is going to interview him coming up. So stay tuned to school news, because we'll find out how that happened, which is really neat. And then we had the other extreme of that baby that could use all of our prayers, and the community should rally around the mom. And that goes to the topic of decorum.
Right.
You had an event this week. You're on the Township Council, and it was an unusual meeting this week.
Yeah, it was a trustee board with the township.
Yeah.
And we had some very strong, opinionated people who became quite radical at a given point. And I just want to, mention to people here, we have the Christmas season is a time to be generous to other people and kind to other people.
Right.
I believe that all the members were trying to listen to what the audience was trying to say, but after a certain period of time, you know, we pretty much lost interest in it because it became very
Well, it was
hostile.
abusive. It was very
Yeah.
abusive. That is not how you behave at a meeting.
Right.
That's a small, relatively small group of people representing a small area in this community, and you people have to make a decision for 35,000 people and how that's going to affect 35,000 people, not just the pocket of people that we're speaking of in a corner of our community. Not that it's insignificant, their voices can and should be heard, but what I heard, those people throwing what they were lobbying at you was, and you as in your board, was that you don't listen, that you're on the dole, and that, I mean, there were so many accusations that were so far off. I watched those meetings. I've seen 3 of those people, and you know which 3 I'm talking about, attend meetings before. The rest of them, I just don't even, do they know you people? They don't, because they could not possibly make the accusations that they made if they knew any member on that board. And I've been in this community 35 years almost. I know those people are there for the right reasons, and it was sad to see how disruptive and childlike that was. That's just not how you behave at a meeting, regardless of how frustrated you are. And believe me, I've sat at a lot where my foot is going like this, but you've got to keep it under control. You create a riot, and that's exactly what that was. I saw one woman pick up her chair about 4 times, and I'm thinking, is she going to throw it? I mean, that was just so ill-behaved that I don't blame you if you didn't listen to them, really. I mean, that was just uncalled for. That's not the way to get attention, that anger. And they want their way, and I understand. We all want our way, but we've got to compromise somewhere. And they were upset about the person they like and the person they wanted representing them, this small corner of this entire community, appointed to the Planning Commission board. That's what that was all about. And another very, very qualified person was appointed. So it didn't happen this time. You know, vote, be there, be more engaged, be more involved. Being engaged is what's important.
And I want to point out that this is not the norm for Oxford Township. And usually, we live in a very nice community.
Right.
People love this community because you are careful of other people's feelings and so forth in this community. This was one exception, and it reminded me of the national thing that was going on with the far left radicals. I mean, it is not the way to conduct business in the township.
There's been too much ill behavior on everybody's part, politically, and this was definitely a political frustration for people in this community.
Well, the television cameras were rolling, and I think if these people see themselves the way they acted, I think they'll understand that they were very childish in the way they conducted themselves in this meeting. I hope that's the case anyway. But anyway, Christmas is coming, and regardless of Christmas or whatever it is, always be kind to your friends and neighbors out there, right?
Yes. I want to say thanks for watching. And that, again, is only our opinion. That's not the opinion of the station. And I want to say happy holidays to everybody, whether it's Hanukkah or Christmas. Just love one another. Peace and grace. And that's it for Oxford News this week. If you'd like to learn more about these stories or others, you can catch us on our website, occtv.org, or on YouTube, and of course on our regular cable channel, Spectrum, Channel 191, and AT&T Channel 99.
And coming up soon on OCTV5 to OCT5.
OCTV.
OCTV. I don't want to make it 5 anyway. Your very own Cody Wright with School Sports, and next, Schooling Around with Alexis Ware and Danielle Smith. And you won't want to miss Auto Talk and Science in the News with Dave Kenny.
I'm Terry Stiles. Thanks for watching Oxford News this week, where we bring your news closer to home.
And I'm Elgin Nichols. And remember, always be kind to your friends and neighbors. And thanks for watching.
That's right, be kind.
We develop quality citizens who keep our core, our country, and our communities side by side on the winning side. Not for glory, but for honor. For a code that isn't written or spoken, but lived. It's what we do. It's who we are. It's the battle cry of our fighting spirit. Battles won. See all the battles Marines fight to win at marines.com.
Welcome to Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication New Scientist. In our first story, Virgin Galactic has just made its first actual trip into space, the firm says. Spaceship Two, the craft that the company says will eventually take tourist and science project into space, has had a successful test flight, taking it to the highest altitude it's ever reached. Spaceship Two is a rocket plane that is shuttled high into the atmosphere by a larger aircraft called White Knight 2 before it's released. In this flight, the spacecraft was carried to an altitude of about 13,100 meters before firing its own engines for 1 minute longer than any previous flight. The goal of the flight was to officially reach space, a boundary that is much debated. The U.S. military awards the United States Astronaut Badge to those who reach 50 miles, or about 80 kilometers, from the surface. As such, Virgin Galactic is considering Spaceship Two's flight, which reached 82.7 kilometers up, a successful first trip to space. But the internationally recognized boundary edge of space is the Kármán line, 100 kilometers up, so it is questionable whether or not Spaceship Two's actually reached Virgin Galactic's stated goal. In October, Virgin Galactic's founder Richard Branson says we should be in space within weeks, not months, and that he himself would be going into space aboard Spaceship Two in months, not years. He may not have quite made those deadlines, but prospects are looking good depending on how you define space. Branson founded Virgin Galactic in 2004. It has faced problems in recent years, notably a crash during 2014's test flight that killed one of its pilots and badly injured the other. It resumed testing in 2016 and as of today has actually started earning money. NASA paid for a few experiments to tag along on the flight. Wow. And on the water, flat-tailed house geckos can skitter across the surface of water, and now we know how they do it. Jasmine Narodi at the Rockefeller University in New York and her team investigated after a colleague saw the behavior in Singapore in monsoon season. They filmed 8 geckos during 63 runs across a basin filled with water. They found that the geckos keep their heads 13.4 millimeters above the surface on average, while their tails remain in contact with the water. They whirl their front legs in a circle. Part of the circle passes through the air and part of it is underwater, which helps create an air pocket that holds the geckos up. They cycle their back legs to produce forward motion. Wow. And on the medical front, shining a light onto the skin could become a new test to see if people are in the earliest stages of diabetes and heart disease. The approach may offer a way of screening people for those health conditions that's quicker and easier than current methods that include blood tests and assessing risk factors such as people's weight and family history. The method works because glucose in blood and other bodily fluids can randomly stick to many different protein molecules in skin and other tissues. It's like glue, says Bruce Wolfenbüttel at the University of Groningen in the Netherlands. These glycated proteins, known as advanced glycation and end products, or AGEs, make for stiffer tissues including blood vessel walls, which contribute to high blood pressure. The accumulation of AGEs in our tissues happens naturally as we age, but it's accelerated in people with diabetes or those who are in the earliest stages of the condition but haven't yet been diagnosed. AGE levels can be measured within skin because they reflect fluorescent light differently to non-glycated proteins. A small handheld device called an AGE reader has been developed by a Dutch firm called Diagnoptics. It shines a fluorescent light onto the skin and detects what bounces back. Wolfenbüttel's team made AGE testing part of a large 30-year study in the Netherlands looking at health and disease in aging. This part of the study looked at about 70,000 participants who were free of diabetes and heart disease at the outset and had AGE testing. 4 years later, those with a high AGE value at the start had a higher risk of developing either diabetes or heart disease. This suggests that the test could be used in population screening for those conditions, says Wolfenbüttel, perhaps in non-medical settings like supermarkets. However, skeptics of screening say no such test should be introduced without large trials showing they do more good than harm. There may be risks of the screening misdiagnosing diabetes in healthy people, which could see people wrongly encouraged to take medications that can have unpleasant side effects. So we'll wait for that one. Well, that's it for this edition of Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television.
What's going on, Wildcat fans? Cody right back here once again for this week's Sports Report. We have quite a bit to look at this week, only a week before we break for the holidays, so let's dive right in. First off, the boys basketball team continues to look fantastic this season. They took on Waterford Kettering here at home on Tuesday, and all three clubs came out strong and went to work. Freshmen taking the win by large 58-32. JV then keeping the ball rolling with a strong win 54-41, and varsity finishing the night off the right way 52-47. The varsity game was a great game to watch. In the first half, very back and forth, low in score and highly defensive. Things opened up from there and we managed to get a jump on them, capitalizing on some undisciplined decisions on the other team's part. And continuing to hit our shots, Michael Raish, Trey Townsend, always looking great, as well as Nolan Hiller, Grant Kornberger, and Connor Nicholson. That is just to name a few. This season is going to be exciting, and that is for sure. On the flip side, the girls basketball team kicked off their season for the first time at home, taking on Birmingham Groves last Friday. It was an impressive 43-33 win. 43-point split between 7 players. The top scorers of the night were Ashley Hirschman with 17 points and 5 rebounds, and Anna Rabb also ending the night with 8 points. Head coach Rachel Breyer says that forward Halea Cato played a big role in the team's win as well. The girls are now 1-1 and set to take on Romeo here at home on the 18th. On another note, the Oxford and Avondale United hockey team continues to struggle with rebuilding. They have taken a few blows to their already short bench early on in the season, and that doesn't make it any easier. The boys won their season opener against Lapeer a while back, however have fallen pretty hard lately. An 8-0 loss against Berkeley and a 7-1 loss against Stony Creek at home. So let's just hope these boys find their feet and get a few wins here soon. Also, the boys swim and dive team looks really ready to go after they take the win by a large deficit against Royal Oak, 123-63. Head coach Jackie Rank has high expectations for the boys after coaching the girls this fall, which was a good season as well. The team's returning diver Evan Covert is expected to look good this year, and swimmers Zach Beatty, Carter Pollard, Cole Bukowski, and Nolan Mayard are also expected to lead the team. The boys are now headed to Rochester, where they will dive in and compete in their second meet of the year. Also, the wrestling team will be traveling to Catholic Central following up their great home kicker against Airport and John Glenn. Here at home, that was the first ever wrestling meet held during school hours. And the boys really did show up and hit the mat to make it a memorable one. We'll have more next week on the outcome of the Detroit Catholic Central meet and, of course, much more. For more info on these events and more, go to oxfordathletics.org. There are plenty of rosters, statistics, and game breakdowns all right there. That is oxfordathletics.org. While you're at it, might as well check us out at occtv.org. All of our coverage of these events and more can be found on our YouTube page, which you can access through the website. Once again, that is occtv.org. I want to thank you all for watching and remind you to tune in next time. But until then, I'm Cody Wright. Go Wildcats.
Thanks to your generosity, Marines have delivered Christmas to children in need since 1947.
Welcome to this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication Automotive News. In our first story, BMW AG and Porsche unveiled a charging station that in less than 3 minutes can jolt electric vehicles with enough power to drive 62 miles, pushing ahead of Tesla Incorporated in the race to make battery-powered cars more convenient. The ultra-fast prototype charger has a capacity of 450 kilowatts, more than triple Tesla's superchargers. Test vehicles developed to take that much power will recharge to 80% capacity in 15 minutes. Tesla stations needed about 30 minutes for a similar charge, according to its website. Car makers developing a wave of electric models to keep up with tightening carbon emissions regulation are under pressure to overcome consumer turnoffs like slow charging times and patchy infrastructure. With demand remaining tepid, BMW, Daimler, and Porsche parent Volkswagen Group are also building fast-charging network along major highways in Europe. The super-powered charging point was developed by a consortium composing of two German car brands, engineering giant Siemens AG and charging specialist Allegro GmbH and Phoenix Contact e-Mobility GmbH. The station in Bavaria was opened to the public on December 12th. It's free to use for existing models, BMW said in a statement. One drawback, the charger offers more power than current models can take on. The BMW i3 limits its power intake to 50 kilowatts, while the battery-powered iX3 will triple that to 150 kilowatts when it rolls out in 2020. For the test vehicles to withstand the full electric charge, Porsche used a cooling system that keeps the battery cells at a steady temperature, while charging cables were cooled too. Siemens provided a higher electric voltage energy supply to test the limits of the power jolt. Wow. And from Ford, the Ford Ranger will return to U.S. dealerships next month as the most fuel-efficient gasoline-powered pickup on the market. The two-wheel drive 2019 Ranger will get 21 miles per gallon city, 26 highway, and 23 combined, according to EPA estimates. The combined figure ties the Chevrolet Colorado diesel engines 23 miles per gallon, but bests all other midsize pickups with gasoline engines. The Ranger's city miles per gallon figure is also the highest among gasoline-powered midsize pickups. A fuel economy edge, no matter how small, may provide Ford a marketing tack in what promises to be a highly competitive battleground. Ford routinely dominated the midsize market until the Ranger was dropped in 2011. The segment, now led by the Toyota Tacoma and Colorado, has expanded 16% this year and will gain more entries from Jeep and Ram over the next several years. The 2019 4x2 Tacoma gets 21 miles per gallon combined, according to the EPA, while the 2019 4x2 Colorado and GMC Canyon with a gasoline engine delivered 22 miles per gallon combined. City fuel economy numbers for the three tops out at about 20 miles per gallon. The 2020 Jeep Gladiator, a midsize pickup scheduled to reach showroom in the second half of 2019, has not yet been rated. The four-wheel drive Ranger gets EPA estimated ratings of 20 miles per gallon in the city, 24 highway, and 22 combined. The city and combined figures also are the best of any gasoline-powered midsize pickup, Ford says. The automaker started building Rangers at its Michigan assembly plant in October after a 7-year absence from the U.S. Ford says the vehicle will go on sale nationwide in January. Ford is positioning the Ranger as a lifestyle vehicle for customers who want to take it off-road to the beach or campsite, and will offer roughly 150 aftermarket parts and accessories through Yakima. The Ranger will start at $25,395, including shipping, and top out at about $40,000. The vehicle's turbocharged 2.3-liter four-cylinder engine will be able to tow and haul more than the V6 gasoline offerings from GM and Toyota, Ford says. Can't wait for that one. And on the, semi-recall front, Toyota Motor Corporation says that it's advancing by a year plans to replace Takata airbags in about 65,000 Toyota and Lexus vehicles in the United States it had previously replaced. The Japanese car maker's U.S. subsidiary said the recall is being announced a year ahead of the December 2019 deadline and would involve replacing Takata airbags that it had previously recalled and replaced with non-Takata airbags at no cost. The recall announced on December 12th affects certain Toyota, Corolla, Sequoia, Tundra, and Lexus vehicles which were made between 2002 and 2005. Takata and its U.S. entity TK Holdings filed for bankruptcy in June last year after recalling more than 100 million of its airbag inflators worldwide, as they could inflate with too much force and spray metal fragments. Takata's assets earlier this year were merged into key safety systems in a $1.6 billion transaction. The combined entity is now called Joyson Safety Systems, with China's Ningbo Joyson holding a majority stake. Well, that's it for this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and as always, may the wind be at your back as you cruise down life's highways.
Nearshires is a professional, safe, economical, and convenient transportation company. Located in Oxford, we serve to and from all airports in the region. Our vehicles are clean, comfortable, and well-maintained. Low fares and guaranteed on time. Dependable service, fully licensed, Nearshires Taxi is designed to keep you safe.